A false positive is an error in binary classification in which a test result incorrectly indicates the presence of a condition, such as a disease when the disease is not present. Wait a minute. There's no way this applies to my code. I would never incorrectly indicate a disease. I mean, that would be a disaster. In multiple ways. Well, let's figure it out. Hello friends, it's Nikos here and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, this is a channel about front-end engineering and you are watching my course about TypeScript. Every week we are exploring a different feature of the language with practical examples and with real-life scenarios. So if all these concepts sound Greek to you, then you can watch the series from the very beginning because you will learn TypeScript. Today we will discover one of the most popular features, operators of TypeScript and JavaScript. It's called Nullish Coalescing operator, and it's another JavaScript feature that TypeScript made it very popular. It's this famous double question mark operator, and it allows you to fall back to a default value when you are dealing with nullables, such as null and undefined. It really helps you to dealing with false positives or false negatives. You don't believe me? Well, let's run an experiment. Tell me how many times you've seen this syntax here. We have an object, a variable, and if it's undefined or null, we want to return a default value. For example, this object here. For example, we have here a number which has the volume, and if this number is null or undefined, for whatever reason, if this is not declared, we want to set the default value to 0.25. And the same applies with strings. For example, if we have a comment, we display it. Otherwise, if we don't have a comment, we display a no comment message. So now let's try to stress test these three lines of code here with some edge cases to see if we will get the same results as the ones that we are expecting. Will this pass our tests or not? Let's take the first one, for example. And what I will try to do is replace this track here with all these different values that you see here. So we will have a null, undefined, we will have not a number, we will have a perfectly acceptable object, we will have 0, an empty string, and an empty object. So let's see how this will behave with all of these values. Will we get back the value we were expecting? Will it pass our unit tests? Let's figure it out. Okay, so we are testing the first one, and to test it, I will fire up my terminal. Here we are running Node, and all I have to do is to use null, for example, which is the first value here, and compare it with an empty object. Okay, an empty object. Yes, that's what we get, and this is perfectly fine. Let's say that we want to test the second one, so undefined. Yeah, an empty object as well. Yeah, this looks legit to me. What about not a number? Yeah, this is also a false value, and by default, it will return the empty array. Okay, so let's try an actual object here. So we have a foo bar object. Will this be, I'm expecting that this will be the result, and correctly, this is the result. Okay, what about 0? Yeah, 0 will also not pass, so we will get back the default value, which is the empty object. What about the empty string? The empty string will behave the same, And what about the empty object? Well, we don't have many options here, do we? But I guess we get back the first empty object, which means the reference to this first value here and not the second one, because as we've seen, all the objects are considered truthy values. Okay, so this one here will pass our tests, and yeah, that works perfectly fine. Now, let's try the second one. So here we have a number, and we will compare it with all our values here. So let's try. I'm starting with the first one, null or 0.25. As expected, we get back the 0.25. What about undefined? Will this work? Yes, it does. Now we have a object, the foo bar object. Will this be? Aha. Yeah. That's not really good because you see here, instead of getting back a number, we get back a object, and good luck trying to make calculations with this object. You will get back not a number, which I forgot to test. So if I have not a number or an actual number, yeah, I will get back the actual number. So that is working. What about 0? That's an interesting one. Oh, that didn't go very well. Yeah, I didn't like that. You see, 0 is an actual number, and if we use this expression here, this will cause a false positive. So yeah, if our patient doesn't have COVID, now we will display that they have COVID, and that's not good at all. Okay, let's try an empty string. Will that work? Obviously no. So even if you have here, for example, 0, no, actually that works because this will override the number, and here you will have a string. Let me try to write this once again. But okay, we have TypeScript for that. I'm pretty sure TypeScript will catch this mistype here. Okay, and of course, if we have an empty object, we will get back the empty object, which is again not that great. So it turns out that our guy here is not passing our tests. Yeah, never do that in your code. So what about the third one? Let's see what will happen here. We have null or no comment. For simplicity, I will use no, and we get back no. Okay, this is the expected behavior. What about undefined? No, that's also the expected behavior. Okay, what about not a number? Yeah, not a number works perfectly fine. Let's try the object foobar. Oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. Yeah, that's actually, again, the same problem as before, and I'm guessing this will happen if we use an empty object here. We will get back the object, because this is considered a truthy value, and we will get the first part of this expression here. Okay, this is not good. What about our 0 value? As expected, we get back no. What about the empty string? This is something that we can test. We will get back no. Okay, that could also cause some errors. Imagine that the user already left a comment, but now we are displaying no comment. And in certain cases, this could be considered a good idea because we don't really want to display something, or we want to display the normal value. But sometimes we don't want to display the default value. And I think we are done. I hope we are done. So here, I'm sorry, you are not passing my unit tests. Okay, as you can see, we have a lot of problems here, which will cause a lot of false positives or false negatives. That's a really bad UI, ladies and gentlemen. And now to illustrate a really bad UI, consider this example here. This function getVolume is basically displaying the volume that we have in our system. Remember, we are building a music player, so we have to set the volume. And this method here returns the volume. So somebody will call this getVolume and potentially pass from somewhere, let's say the volume. Potentially this could be an object or something, but let's say that we try to call this with 0. And what we will expect here is basically 0. So let's try to console log this volume here to see what we will get. I will fire up again my terminal. We need to compile this code and we will run. Okay, as you can see, the volume is not 0 as we want it to be, but 0.25. So if you are using this value to get the volume of your computer and the user wants to mute basically the sound because they have a phone call or something, yeah, it's not gonna happen. So they will still listen to the music. And that's not really a good UI. That's a disaster. That's the false positive we want not to happen. And imagine if we were working with a more sensitive application like health related or finance related. That will be a disaster. But I have good news. That's why I did this episode. We have a feature to help us fix this problem. But first, let's try to fix it by ourselves. So a nice way to fix this issue would be to basically check if volume is not equal null and volume not equal undefined. If this is true, then we will get back the volume. Otherwise, we will get back the default value. So this is one way to solve this error. Now let's try it here. And it's not working and I have to write it again. Okay. Of course, I forgot to save this file, and when you save the file, you don't expect a lot of things, right? And I'm really happy that it's working. And yeah, we get back 0, and this is what we were expecting. Okay, we fixed the issue. Everything is great. But let me show you how we can dramatically improve this line of code here if we use the Nullish Coalescing operator. And in order to compare these two, I will intentionally comment out this line here and implement the final approach here. So here, if you remember, we had volume or 0.25. And yeah, all we have to do is replace these with the 2 question marks. So let me fire up the terminal to test if this works. We compile our code and we run it. And yes, now it works. We give back 0 and we get back 0. And just to test if this will work, for example, with 0.5, let's compile the code again and run it. And yes, it works with both values. So yeah, this passes our tests. And as you can see here, it dramatically improves readability. And this is actually how this operator is working in the background. It basically takes the first argument here and it checks if it's null or undefined. If this is true, then it simply returns the default value. If it's not true, then it will return this value here, and it completely ignores every other falsy value in JavaScript. How cool is that, right? And this is actually a JavaScript feature, so it is available at runtime. And yeah, TypeScript, I think, made it very, very popular because it was a proposal for many years, but TypeScript had it already built in. Okay, one last comment I want to mention here. Never use this operator with a ternary. So for example, here, if you use a ternary, let's say 0.5, this will simply not work unless if you specifically indicate, and yeah, this will work. So always have a single expression before these two double question marks, and that will do the job. It's a really nice feature. I think it takes more time to explain than to actually enjoy. And yeah, I hope you guys liked my experiment. Now allow me to share my personal story. When I was learning TypeScript, I had a notebook like this one, and I was collecting the most important bits and pieces and things I was learning about the syntax, or the differences between the types, or the steps on how to create a new project. And you know, I have a lot of things in my notebook, and I was thinking how useful it will be if I had this from the very beginning. And I thought this could help more people. That's why I polished it a bit, and I have created something really nice. Introducing the epic cheat sheet for TypeScript. It contains pretty much everything you need to know about the language, but it's extremely small, and you can now download it for free. It's one of the exclusive content you will find in the official Too Long to Read TypeScript Student's Companion. It's a page with all the training resources of this series. It's like a pleasure following the course this way. It makes it much easier, and every time I will be announcing something new, so just click on the link in the description of this video to learn more about it. Okay, and you know, every episode in this series has a corresponding article. So if you want to find these experiments and you tried them by yourself, you can actually check my blog post about the Nullish Coalescing feature. I'm frequently adding more content in my articles. I think it's much easier to update them compared to updating these videos. So all the latest and the greatest of the world are there. And let me know if you have any questions, or you can also suggest a topic that you want me to present in the following episodes. Until the next one, thank you very much for watching and have a creative day. And don't forget to subscribe because you will receive more episodes like this one in your YouTube feed. Or click here if you want to watch this series from the very beginning. I have created this playlist, it's really good. Thanks for watching. Again, see you in the next one.